Morning. Welcome to Hacking with the Homies Developer Conference. Today is really focused on having some time to actually walk through like minting your first NFT. So the way we designed today was really for a little different from our normal 3 slides and code format that we usually have. Today's format is really a workshop format. And this format is going to consist of us actually being hands-on. So we're actually going to take the time and do some pauses when we walk through each one of the sessions today, and really give you the opportunity to really, try out these things and really configure yourself to be able to be in a position so that you can start minting your own NFTs. So the first, discussion that we're going to have today is a keynote discussion around NFTs and around some of the things that I've experienced and the panelists have experienced, and just kind of get their perspective on just the crypto NFT market. We're based in Detroit, so I want to be able to at least tap into that and understand what are they seeing in Detroit, because I think it's going to be similar to what we see in other metropolitan cities as well. So I wanted to get their viewpoint. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it. So I'm going to bring up both of the panelists, Dr. Marlo Rencher and also Chad Rhodes. Hey, Marlo. Hey, Chad. How are you?
Good afternoon. How you doing?
Good. Chad, you're on mute.
Sorry about that.
No, we'll edit that. We'll edit that out. It's all good. So folks, I appreciate you being here. I guess the first thing we want to do is kind of just start off. Maybe tell me a little bit about yourself. So, Dr. Rencher, if you can just go there. I'm gonna go in between Dr. Rencher and Marlo, if you don't mind, because sometimes I may not, put the right.
Marlo is fine, absolutely fine. We established I got some college credits, so now Marlo is cool. So I'm Marlo Rencher. I'm the founder of Tech Founder Academy, which really helps Black women reinvent themselves as tech founders. And reason why I'm really passionate about that is because Black women are more likely to employ those in their community. And when they reinvent themselves as tech founders, they can take access to more money, more power, and more respect, and ultimately help the community. I'm also the director of technology-based programs at TechTown in Detroit, which is an entrepreneurial hub based in the city of Detroit.
Cool. Thank you so much. Chad.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Chad Rhodes, and I am an engineer by trade, but currently a real estate professional, an investor, and a behind-the-scenes tech geek.
Yeah. He's waiting for me to give him his respect. Yes.
A fake tech geek, So I love everyone on here today, and my inner coolness says that I'm one of you.
Thank you, Chad. And really, the reason why I brought both of you together was that I know both of you fairly well, and you both of you are leaders in different spaces. Obviously, Marlo is a leader in the startup tech community. Chad, you are a leader in the investment kind of nightlife, based on like you've been a promoter and an event producer for a number of years. So both of you are kind of seeing Detroit from two different lenses. So I wanted to bring you on here to kind of talk through some of this. And again, like I said in the intro, I think what we're seeing here in Detroit is not very unique. And I think what we're going to be able to talk about is something that's going to resonate for folks outside of Detroit as well. Mm-hmm. So let's kind of jump into it. So Chad, so I know you were an early investor in XRP, which is a cryptocurrency, and and you got me into it as well, and we kind of got ourselves into it. It's a funny story how we got into it, but I think we've been doing that since 2017. And then recently, we had, you kind of called me and was like, "Hey, we're about to buy some property in the metaverse, and it's going to be like we think about doing a $25,000 buy." And I was like, I don't think you kind of like heard my voice. I tried to play it off. You know, if somebody comes with you and say like, you want to buy something, you don't want to be the guy that be like, yeah, I don't really got it like that, or I'm scared right now, or anything like that. I was like, okay, man, all right, now for sure. Yeah, whenever you're ready. But it ended up being
only 5,000 a piece. It's only 5,000 a piece.
Exactly. That was the thing. Only 5,000 a piece. But then it ended up, and I think I don't know really what happened, but it ended up being that it came from 25,000 to like a $5,000 purchase, and we ended up actually putting our money up, and you went to the the land sale, and it sold out, so we couldn't even buy it. So I guess what I'm getting at here, what excites you about the metaverse? Like, what excites you about this whole deal?
So for me, and I, I have a little age. I think we're all kind of like in the same generation, in the same, same age group, and we've had the opportunity to witness all of these tech jumps, right? So folks start talking about Web 1, Web 2. Now we're in Web 3. In the late 90s, when the internet really just started to bang, and individuals started to build websites and the early adapters, marketing, online, email marketing. No one was really doing it, and I didn't take advantage of it, right? It was just one of those kind of tech tools that was there that you really didn't know, what the future held for it. But hindsight 2020, I should have been involved in it. Same thing with Web 2 when we started talking about social media marketing, websites, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of these things. And they created a whole new industry or class of influencers who, regardless of what field you're in, you became a influencer expert in whatever field you were in. Once again, didn't take advantage of that, right? So here we are now in Web 3, and we all know that the early adapters typically win, right? So here we are in Web 3, and I'm like, yo, I've been through, 2 iterations of this. This is the 3rd iteration, and I got all of the knowledge from missing out on the other 2. It only makes sense for me to dive into this, right? So, I got a certain amount of historical knowledge on how this stuff works. We've seen these cyclical cycles, and they just kind of repeat and they repeat and repeat. And regardless of, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. I'm in real estate, cycles repeat in real estate. Real estate goes up and real estate goes down. You got to have the resources to be able to take advantage of the real estate when it goes down. Same thing in tech. New tech emerges, right? Those early adapters, whether you were a website creator in the early 2000s, charging $4,000 to $5,000 for things that individuals are doing today now on their own, through Wix or whatever. And it's just like the early adapters always win. So I wanted to make sure I'm a part of that winning team. And that's why I'm an early adapter with Web3.
So it's interesting to me that you said that. Like, I was expecting for you to say something different. And me and you talk all the time. I was expecting for you to say that, hey, the metaverse kind of is very similar to what I do as a real estate investor. So I understand that the scarcity that we see inside of these metaverses, which I don't necessarily agree to, because I think the scarcity is something that's being created, because obviously you can you can pop up another metaverse without a problem. But I was expecting for you to say, hey, this is similar to what I do, so I understand it. But interesting that you kind of looked at it from like your past experiences, things that you missed out on, and basically how you're going to try and make sure that you don't miss out on this next wave. So,
absolutely.
Cool. So, Marlo, so I have like stories with all of you guys a little differently. Like, so Marlo was like the first person that came to me and was like, what about a DAO? So now, like, when she said it, I was like, I knew what DAOs were, but like, I really didn't know what DAOs were. Right? She was like, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, okay, for sure. Yeah. Because she asked me like, what do you think about it? Like she asked me like, I said like I was a credible source to ask for this, and I was like, I really don't, I haven't really thought about it actually. So like, what intrigues you about this whole DAO movement? And for those who don't know, it really stands for decentralized autonomous organization. So what intrigues you about this, Marlo?
So first of all, I have to agree with what Chad said about kind of seeing things in the past and wanting to be a part of it in the future. And DAOs are a part of that. So what intrigues me about it is my particular position. So I talked about being a part of Tech Founder Academy. So I see people's ideas and what they're thinking about, and the gap in terms of financing, right? And I also see the same at Tech Town. There's a lot of folks who come in, they're interested in building these companies, they're interested in getting funding, but there's a gap, right? And then one other thing, I'm a co-founder of a group called Commune Angels. It's an angel investment group. Basically, it's kind of like very, very, a shorthand of that would be like it's Shark Tank. So we review companies, decide whether or not we're individually going to invest in them. So all of these situations are situations where people with these ideas are sometimes interested in getting funding, but they don't have a mechanism that works for them to do it. And what DAOs enables is for organizations to really be able to invest if they want to invest, or operate if they want to operate without the same kind of structures that could be biased, that could add a lot of friction to the process. So what intrigues me specifically is the idea of using a DAO to say, hey, automatically, if you as an investor hit this number in terms of your revenue, if you have this kind of thesis in terms of what you're doing, then automatically we can invest, right? So some of the biases that we might not have, that we might have in terms of how a founder might present themselves, or what jargon they might stumble over, some of that can be eliminated. Not all of it. But like the gatekeepers that traditionally say, hey, this is what a tech founder looks like, or this is what a investable business looks like, DAOs have some ability to work through and remove some of those barriers. It's not the end all be all, but it's a structure that puts the power of the organization in the membership, and not just at a head. And that to me is very, very interesting.
So I learned something else today. Like I was suspecting you to say something totally different. So I so
keep it dynamic, man.
Yeah, that's all good. Keep me on toe. So you're really focused on like really allowing a founder to leverage a DAO for funding their particular entity, organization, and really do it in an automated fashion. Because right now, as you know, it's kind of, it's kind of complicated to invest in a company, right? So if a DAO can help minimize all of the friction that's needed to do that. And obviously you talked about the biases around it as well. And the thing is,
and investors.
And
right?
investors.
So not
yes.
just a founder.
Yes. And but here goes the funny thing. I thought for some reason, I thought like you were like a purist. Like you were like, no, I love DAOs because now it's really truly a decentralized organizations. And I thought she was going more on the standpoint of like, Coinbase, OpenSea, all these are becoming, even though they're based on decentralized concepts, but they are really becoming centralized hubs that people are leveraging highly. So I thought you were going from that perspective. So this is good. So it's more around the funding aspect of it. So interesting to me. Okay, so I'll just ask this to Chad as well. Like, any position on DAOs? What have you been thinking? What's your thoughts around that?
So I haven't really deep dived into it, but I've definitely been researching, DAOs, and I think that the direction, especially, we use these buzzwords like with Web3, is about community building, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that's different because in the previous Webs 2 is all individualism, right? So it's all about you, and in Web3 it's all about we, right? So everyone is collaborating, everyone is coming together. You're looking at, various things like, Discord, and all of these things kind of translate into being able to build and create a community and figure out how to monetize that community for a common goal, right? So that's kind of like the direction that, that I see DAOs going.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone that's looking at going in that direction is going to have to take the time in order to build the community, right? And once the community is built, it's endless on what you can do.
Matt, can I interject for a second?
Sure.
I mean, I think that when we talk about this evolution of like Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, if you talk about even from a Web 2 perspective, being able to talk to and get followers at the thousands level, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I just want to say tangibly, you can take those thousands of followers and create a DAO. Mm-hmm. Like you go from being able to be connected to people to creating community. And then that community is not just about you monetizing that community. It is what Chad says. It's about the community itself putting in and being, its own organization. I think that's really, really exciting. And Web 2 is more kind of like, I have 1,000 followers, therefore I can make some money.
Right.
Versus, or 1 million followers, therefore I can make some money. Versus, our 1 million followers can get together and we can create wealth for ourselves.
And then and piggybacking on that, Mack,
mm-hmm.
when you really think about it, most of the Web 2, social media engagement has really just been visual and not necessarily a lot of engagement, right? So mm-hmm. an individual can have 100,000 followers and do an event and not be able to get 20 or 30 people there, right? So that's why the community build and the transition from Web 2 to Web 3 and community building is going to be complicated for a lot of people, because just because somebody has 5,000 followers doesn't mean that those 5,000 followers are really engaged with them. They could just be watching them.
So, I mean, that's interesting that you guys both say this. So I'm actually learning a lot, because one of the speakers, Zenwa, he's going to be doing the turning assets into NFTs. What started our conversation for him becoming a presenter was that he was like, Mack, yo, why don't you turn, like, are you interested in making, Detroit Black Tech into a DAO? And for we all can kind of reap the benefits of the organization. And I don't think I really got it. I don't think I really got it. I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm sure. But I think I get it, because I think right now we're going through an interesting state, is that it's hard to move individuals right now, because there's just so much stuff going on in regards to everybody's kind of sick of Zoom. Everybody's interconnected virtually. I think by like you said, I think I like the way Marlo put it. It's like, if I can move the evolution of the I don't call the people that's part of Detroit Black Tech as our followers. If I can move them right to, or transition them to a DAO, we may be able to see more engagement. They'll be able to reap some of the benefits of us partnering with these organizations. And obviously, this, to be quite frank, the sponsorship dollars we do, and I think we do a good job with this conference, right? Paying our speakers, things of that nature. But I think maybe, and this is, now I'm self-reflecting, I'm thinking like how I could be better, that we could somehow filter that money in other ways. So this is dope. You guys educated me on this, so appreciate it. So I want to move on a little bit and kind of talk about another situation where I learned from Chad in this case. I don't know, Chad, if you remember this, but you came to me with one of your friends and you were like, hey man, I'm sorry. I do these impressions of you. I'm sorry. This is how I feel sometimes when you talk. Hey, I want to sell tickets on the blockchain. I think I'm sick of actually having to give people because a lot of times you're selling tickets. You give it to an individual. Like you say, give me 20 tickets. I'll get rid of them for you. But you have to manage that and understand. Did they actually sell the tickets? Who has the tickets? Who needs more tickets? And you felt that the blockchain would be a way to be able to manage that. And there's again one of these times where I kind of shrugged it off, right? I was like, he's crazy. I don't think this is going to be a big thing. And now, fast forward, I think this was like 2 years ago, Chad. We had this conversation. Now, obviously, Hacking with the Homies had our tickets as NFTs, aka sitting on the blockchain. So, tell me what made you think about this? I mean, I kind of gave you the story, but did I kind of accurately depict why you were thinking about leveraging and selling tickets on the blockchain? And now that you see that people are starting to do it, I mean, what's your thoughts now?
And so at the end of the day, I'm a true blue entrepreneur, right? So entrepreneurs, they have a different filter system in how they look at things. I look at things from how do I create this frictionless process, right, in order to establish whatever it is that I'm doing. So from an event promotion, producer perspective, I'm thinking like, all right, hey, here's this new technology, right? All my technology questions go to Mack. Mack is my guy on the ground when it comes to technology. He's my best bud, so I'm calling him, Mack, I got an idea. And in the event world, right, especially if you're selling tickets to an event, a lot of times you have influencers that purchase tickets from you, right? So they might purchase multiple tickets, or they might say, hey, I don't want to purchase these tickets, but give me 20 tickets and I'll go ahead and sell them for you for this event. And it's always difficult from a tracking perspective, being able to track these different tickets. And the idea was that, hey, there should be some type of technology in which I can digitally shoot this individual over 20 tickets. And then as they sell those tickets, they can digitally email a QR code or whatever the case might be to that individual, or send them a link in order to purchase the tickets, individually. And then they get their individual QR code or ticket or access to this event. And it's still a viable project, and I haven't really seen it implemented in the space yet. But I know it's coming, I know it's coming, and that's going to work for event producers, nonprofits, like anyone that's in the fundraising event space, regardless of who or what you're fundraising for, is going to be a technology that those individuals will want to take advantage of.
Yeah, so I know, and I feel like I should have just I got to be better, because what you just said, a lot of people call me about ideas, and I'm having a hard time filtering out the ones that are good, or the ones I need to really focus on. But I need to probably pay attention to you more, Chad. So yeah, you hear it here. I hear it here.
All of my ideas are home run ideas, brother. All of them.
I know. No, the thing is, everybody says that, but I need to start taking yours more seriously, for sure. Marlo, what's your thoughts? Have you been following this whole space around, selling tickets and all that good stuff? I know, because obviously you do a lot of events. What do you think? Do you think this is going to be something that is really going to catch on and take off?
Absolutely. I think the most interesting things for me about NFTs are their utility, right? So it's what's exciting to me is not just selling one picture as an NFT. It's selling access to what's happening in the future. It's, Chad has an NFT that gets you access to all his stuff, in the 3 years into the future, all the a NFT that gets you access to Hacking with the Homies in the future. So it reminds me again of like, I remember what it was like when there was a pets.com, and anything with a .com that was seen as being the business model, was just putting a .com behind it. And I think people are using NFTs in that same way. Any picture, they think that's the business model, but that's not it. This is the passcode, the access, the VIP thing that you can own that will take you to all these different spaces. So anything in the past, anything in the future, basically being able to have access to those things is really, really important. And I look forward to more of the folks that are in the creative spaces coming to Tech Town and just recognizing that they can, instead of just selling a thing, they can sell access to their creativity. And that to me is just a much more interesting value proposition, and interesting in terms of the way that you promote yourself and you promote what it is that you do. So I think after kind of the whole, $20 million for a picture thing blows over, people will really start to realize how important this particular tool is going to be, and is already probably.
And
No,
Mack,
go for it.
Piggybacking on that,
sure.
And that's the utility aspect that Marlo is talking about. And when you think about that, that is scalable, right? Mm-hmm. So you might have a roadmap currently, and another idea pops into your head 8 months from now, and you can implement that idea to all of those NFT holders that are part of your community. Mm-hmm. So it's never ending value that you can bring to this NFT community that you have. And that's the beauty of it, is that it's infinite. It never stops. Like whatever you come up with, you might say, hey, we're going to do a jazz brunch with Johnny Gill and all our NFT holders, because he just popped in town, and, you guys were having drinks the night before. And he's like, hey, all right, we'll just shoot this out to my NFT, for all of the NFT community that have the Chad Rhodes NFT. And then everybody's at brunch with listening to Johnny Gill.
I just, it's amazing to me that you, like, of all the artists, you picked Johnny Gill. But that's cool. I didn't realize you was a Johnny Gill artist.
I like what the ladies like. The ladies like Johnny Gill.
Well, I think, it's funny that I reflect now. I'm trying to think here is that when we decided we wanted to sell NFTs, part of the conference, I was like, first of all, it's like, does this make sense? Because what we were selling was basically, hey, we're going to teach you how to, create NFTs, but we need you to buy an NFT to come to the conference. So I was a little worried that people would not understand it. And we didn't get a lot of NFT sales, but I think the key here and what you guys are talking about is that it's up on like the organization. Like, it's not like, you can just say, hey, I have an NFT and people are just going to automatically go buy it, right? You have to attach, like you both are saying, some utility to it. And the organization that is offering the NFT needs to do some promotions around that. And yes, a lot of that promotions happens in Discord, but it doesn't matter what media mechanism or what channel you use, it's still in the organization to really promote that. But I do think, and I don't know if you guys agree with this or not, I think as NFTs become more mainstream, and I think they're already, my mom was already calling me like, baby, how do I get an NFT? So I think they're mainstream, but I don't think people are really getting sometimes the utility aspect, but I think they will. And then I think when people say, hey, I got an NFT that for a ticket, I'm selling for my event, I'm selling an NFT, I think they'll jump on it immediately. Do you think we'll get there? Do you think it was going to be a long time before we get there, or do you think it was going to be pretty quick?
These things are jumping pretty quick. So, I remember buying for my dad an America Online membership, and he was like, what am I going to do with this? And, kind of fast forward now, I think the cycle time for people to adopt these technologies is just a lot quicker. So I think in like 2 or 3 years, you're gonna sign your lease with an NFT. You know, you're going to see more people getting paid in blockchain, and as a result, you know, mortgages, all those. I mean, like the contracting piece and the ability from a capitalist perspective to move out a lot of middlemen, decrease some friction, and just get some cost out of the system is going to be what drives it. And I just think more and more folks who are comfortable with technologies are going to be in a place to adopt those technologies.
And then the authentication, right? So I know that, you know, yesterday there was a workshop on building a MetaMask onto a website, and some of the things that were, you know, mentioned and that they talked about directly apply to the things that we're talking about now. So when you start talking about authenticating, whether you're authenticating your membership, whether you're authenticating your ID, like all of these things are going to be frictionless. And like, imagine if the Social Security Agency or the US government gave us each individual wallet associated with your Social Security number, right? So now, you know, you're cutting out like cons and thefts and stuff like that, because they can shoot directly to your wallet, your tax refunds. They can shoot directly to your wallet, your Social Security benefits. You can, you know, in that wallet could be your authentication of your identification, you know. So like the technology, like we're probably, you know, 15%, you know, into the marketplace now. And I think that's going to jump leaps and bounds, you know, every year, definitely.
I agree. So let's move on a little bit. We're starting to run out of time here. Is that a couple of things? So yeah, and I know when the way we marketed this this workshop was really for, you know, artists, because I'm getting more and more people that are artists. Because African American folks, we are just highly creative, and this is probably the second or third time I've seen where technology has really overlapped with artists, basically in this particular space. Because, you know, everybody, at least I've never had like so many calls from artists like, how can I set up an NFT? And I think a lot of it has to do with the pandemic we're in, right? Because typically artists they go to shows, and that's how they sell their artwork. Now they're trying to figure out other ways of doing it, and so we kind of already know that artists are trying to jump on, but Chad, you kind of represent the whole, like, to me, you're my real estate guy, right? So you're the guy I talk to about real estate. Like, people that are in real estate, don't you think it's kind of like, I would think it would be quite natural for them to start thinking about like the metaverse and starting to jump in. Maybe that'll be their entry point. Maybe they were like, I don't really want to buy just crypto. Maybe they're like, I don't see any value in NFTs. I'm not really in art. But I would think like the metaverse would be something they'd be like, oh, this is very similar to what I do. Are you hearing that from folks, or not really?
Not at all. Like the real estate industry is a very archaic industry, you know. So those individuals are not at all paying attention to anything that's going on in Web3 for the most part. But the industry is very adaptive, and just like someone mentioned yesterday, not too long ago, within the last, you know, couple months, maybe the last 30 days, the first house was actually sold as an NFT, right? So, and that goes back to what Marlo was saying, in which contracts are going to be on the chain. You're going to sell houses on the blockchain. You're going to sell cars on the blockchain. You're going to authenticate your Gucci and Louis Vuitton purses on the blockchain. It's like anything of value is going to be authenticated on the blockchain, sold on the blockchain, and transacted on the blockchain. So that's the future, and that's the direction.
Matt, can I also say just real quick, when you hear things going to be sold on the chain and your mind like might push against that, I want you to also hear on the web, right? Like, there was a while ago when we talked about you're going to be able to apply for loans on the web. You're going to be able to, you know, communicate on the web. You're going to be able to work online. Like the same, there were people who were like, that's never going to happen. This is that. And it's important for you to recognize that's really what's coming. So whatever is in your mind, like, oh, it's not going to happen, just recognize this is that.
I agree with you as well, because I'm trying not to be my dad, right? Because when my dad, I don't know, maybe you guys are different. When my dad heard me with like bumping, what was the first thing he bumped where he looked at me like he was crazy? It was, I think it was NWA. He was like, what is you listening to? This isn't music. And he was like, this rap game will never, ever replace whatever music he was listening to. As we all know, that was false. We all know that now, rap and hip hop is definitely probably, I don't know the numbers, I'm not all in it. We know it's a leading industry, right? And a leading component of the music industry. So I'm trying not to be my dad. Whenever I hear a concept, so to your point, Marlo, I'm working really, really hard every day to push against those forces that are saying that, oh, that's stupid. Nobody would ever want to do that. And I have to start, I almost need pictures of all these like people who've made like billions of dollars just to remind myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't want there to be another evolution like this where we miss out. You know, we see these people at the top of the chain from Web 1, Web 2, and this is the opportunity. And I really believe this about boldness and doing stuff where other folks aren't doing it at this point right here. And I just don't want us to miss out again, collectively.
And let me jump in with a little bit of real estate education, and this really bridges the gap in what Marlo said. So as it stands right now, each local county is responsible for the public record of a real estate transaction, which is buying or selling a house or getting a mortgage on a house, right? So anyone that's went through that transaction previously, that the title companies are the ones that do the transactions, and they go take the documents, whether it's your mortgage or the deed of sale, down to the register of deeds with the local county. For us is Wayne County. And then Wayne County holds the database, which is a public database in which they put that information or that transaction onto that public database, which is the Wayne County Register of Deeds, right? This technology is really going to make that obsolete, right? The whole blockchain aspect, because as opposed to having this centralized entity, which is the Wayne County Register of Deeds, which is slow and there are gaps in the amount of time that it takes in order for you to register information with them. It's going to be on the blockchain, and the Wayne County Register of Deeds is going to be a public blockchain in which there's a transaction done, and your deed or mortgage or sale of your house is going to automatically show up on the blockchain, and it's going to be, everyone is going to be able to see it. It's going to be searchable, and that's going to be the public record.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to that, because I just bought a house, and I know it's going to, like, the records are going to take forever to be updated, and they're going to lose something of that nature. I know we're running really low on time, but I have to ask, Dr. Rencher, really quickly, like, obviously I work with you over at Tech Town, and I always get I do these calls with companies, and I sometimes get companies that are like, I want to build my own metaverse, or but I don't get a lot of those. Like, I almost think that's the extreme, right? I get like, I want to build my own metaverse type deal, but I get a lot of companies that haven't really jumped into valuing Web3 yet, or trying to figure out how to incorporate it into their business. A lot of them are just trying to figure out how to start the business. I just want to see, I'm assuming you have a lot higher level conversations being the director over there. Like, are you seeing the same thing? Or are companies not really jumping in NFTs just yet? Or what are you seeing?
I think that the companies that I see the Detroit-based companies are not jumping in. I also think that for a lot of us, we don't have the time to think deeply about these things. We have the time to pay our bills. We have the time to handle those things that are relevant for us. But we don't always create the space. And this is a precious space right here. This is one of those spaces, but not most people don't have that, haven't taken the time to create this space, to think more deeply about how these technologies, what these technologies are and how they can improve lives. But I think that's a lot of times why you don't see us at the top, is because we're handling, making sure that our mortgages and everything are paid. So no, we don't see that yet, but I think we need to take that time. And with it comes the, resolving of all the other kind of survival level stuff.
And here was the other thing. So thank you for that. I was wondering from your perspective, what were you seeing? That's a good observation. So the reason how we got together for this panel really quickly, I'm just going to give everybody that, and then I want to get your take on this. We were really trying to, at least I was trying to figure out how do royalties work inside of the NFT space. Because we all know that one of the value propositions of NFTs is that if someone creates an asset and somebody resells that asset, you basically get a royalty on that asset. And this royalty is for the lifetime of the asset, right? So that's one of the reasons why artists love it, because usually when they sell a piece of art, that's the only money they get. If they, I don't want to wish death on anybody, but if they die and that artwork becomes huge, their estate does not get any dollars, doesn't get any, anything from it. So our experiment consisted of really you selling a NFT, me buying it. When you set it up, you actually set it up for royalties. I actually bought it, and then Chad bought it. He made it really expensive. I don't know. I think he made it like 2 ETH. And the whole goal was just to kind of figure out what happens through the life cycle of an NFT. And I guess I just want to ask both of you really quickly, because we're already over, but that's okay. We'll make up. This is an important conversation. Is like, did that open your eyes to anything around this? Like either like how OpenSea works or just NFTs in general? Like what did you learn or distill from that conversation? I'll start with Marlo, I guess, in this case.
What I learned is that you have to taste it. You can't to be theoretical about NFTs. It doesn't really give you a good sense. So just understanding the mechanics of it and the simplicity of it, and that is possible to do and possible to do really quickly. So, make $100 investment in your time and in your education, and just do that thing. That's just what I learned. You got it. Just do it, taste it, and that's where you learn.
Just like Jackie Baker used to say, her book, Just Start. So I love it. Yeah. Shout out to Jackie on that. Chad, what's your thoughts on that real quick?
I'm right there with Marlo, and I could, expand a little bit from a more technical aspect. But, one of the things that you hear about, all right, we're going to mint this NFT, and this NFT is going to cost X amount of dollars, whether it's $50, $100. I paid $1,000 for, NFTs. But what you don't know until you actually go through the process is those variations of gas fees, right? Which are transactional fees for purchasing these NFTs. And it makes more sense, to purchase your NFT if you're, outside of the minting. But if you're purchasing an NFT off one of the marketplaces like, Solana, Art, or OpenSea, then you want to purchase that NFT somewhere around 1 a.m. to 4 a.m., right? When there are not as many transactions going on, the gas fees are a lot lower, as opposed to, in the middle of the day when there's a lot of transactions going, but you wouldn't know that just kind of like, reading, studying NFTs, but you kind of have to like really go to it and do some transactions in order to find out where the sweet spots are. All right. If I purchase this, okay, this is probably a good time. Oh, I also didn't know that I could kind of time my gas fees, right? So when I when I log on and I'm waiting for the gas fees refresh every 20 seconds or every 30 seconds. And sometimes it could be like $20, $30 jumps within the refresh time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it might make sense for you to just kind of sit there for a minute and check the gas fees.
Yeah, wait.
Yeah, it's
right.
Oh, minus
like
30.
double Dutch, right?
I'm in there,
Right.
It's those kind of nuances that you only learn by playing in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So guys, folks, I appreciate this. This was a great conversation. And the reason, and I think you guys hit it, right? The reason why we're doing this particular workshop is because you need to touch it. You need to feel it. Yes, you read a lot of theory, a lot of articles on it, but in this workshop, we're actually going to get our hands dirty. So again, Chad, Dr. Rencher, I appreciate your time, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.